Welcome back to a new video. After a while, we have another ITX build with this tiny case today. This case is quite special because it allows us to use any graphic card. It does not need an external GPU enclosure. It does not require a PCIe riser, which is annoying if you pair an old riser with a new card, and it does not care how big your graphic card is. Your card can be an RTX 3090, 4090, shitty 90, 3 slots, 4 slots, 5 slots, it does not care. As long as we use a high wattage power supply such as the SF1000, we can have enough power to use with the trashiest GPU from Nvidia. This case is called C34 by Karl Metal, and I bought it directly on Taobao. The case is bare stainless steel, so it looks like a stupid cyberpunk car. It is shiny, but it is a fingerprint magnet, and the oil from my fingers caused some stains on the case after I touched it. Because it's tarnished the look, I decided to buy a vinyl wrap on Amazon to customize the case. After spending 4 days to wrap and cut out holes, this is how it looks like now, and I really love it. It was time consuming, but I think it is worth the time and efforts. I was caught in the FOMO hype of the Ryzen 7 9800X 3D, so I purchased one back in January. To use the new chip, I chose the MSI B650i Edge Wi-Fi, and this is the first time for me to own an MSI motherboard. Honestly, I should have gone with the B850i Lightning board from ASRock because it has better VRM, and it just went on sale for $209 recently. However, I hope this one is good enough for me to apply some undervolting if the CPU is too hot. I bought a contact frame because it can keep cleaning thermal paste better, and I don't think it has any benefit toward temperature. For memory, I purchased 32 gigs from the brand called Juhor. This kit is 8 die and the speed is 6000 MHz CL28, so the timing is tight, yeah! Not only that, this RAM is weaboo AF. I purchased the case, the motherboard and this RAM at Taobao as I thought it would be cheaper, but it was not, and it took even longer for parts to get to the US, so I would not recommend buying PC parts on Taobao except buying the case. I chose the AXP90X47 full copper cooler, and I believe you already saw it at the start of the video. The case supports a 47mm cooler, but the C34D version of the case allows you to use a taller heatsink. I think this cooler could be sufficient as AMD put the 3D cache under the die, which resulted better temperature, unlike the 5800X 3D which I gave up using due to high temperature even with a bigger cooler. For storage, I reused my 500GB WD-SN750 NVMe. I also upgraded the secondary drive to a brand new 1TB SN850X, which I got on Facebook Marketplace for just $40. Both of these have DRAM cache. To install the motherboard, the top and the front panels on the case need to be removed. After that, place the motherboard and secure it to the 4 standoffs. I also plugged the EPS cable into the motherboard and mounted the SF1000 PSU to the rear panel of the case. You can also plug the necessary cables into the power supply. The power button can be installed to one of these holes of the front panel, and the USB I/O can be mounted to the front. When purchasing, you can choose to get both USB-A or USB-C. For me, I chose one of each. After doing some cable management, we can reinstall the front panel to the case. I am using the stock cables coming with the Corsair SF1000, and you can see that everything was packed inside, but we are not done yet. The case allows us to add up to two 2.5-inch drives by mounting them to the front panel of the case right below the power supply. So I installed two 2TB SSDs to give me extra 4TB of storage, which is plentiful for games. With everything is plugged in, we can secure the top panel to the case. The last step is adding 4 double-sided tape rubber feet and we are done. You can just use this as a home theater PC, and it is the reason that I wanted to switch to AM5 as they have integrated graphics unlike AM4. But this is also a gaming PC, so it needs a dedicated GPU. By removing these 3 screws, we can detach this cover to reveal the PCIe slot of the motherboard. You need to store the cover and the long screws somewhere. Don't lose them. The 2 small screws are used to mount the GPU bracket holder to the rear panel of the case. There is a low profile bracket which can be purchased for low profile GPUs like the RTX 4060. I already tucked the PCIe power cables above the NVMe heatsink so that I could use them with a graphic card. The cables need to be routed right here, which is under the GPU. You can route 3 8-pin PCI cables, but it is very tight, so custom cables is highly recommended, or just sticking with a card that uses 1 or 2 8-pin cables. One thing to keep in mind is that if the motherboard has big NVMe heatsink, for example the Asus X870, you may not have enough space to tuck away many PCIe cables. The card I'm using only requires a single 8-pin cable. I might consider getting some custom cables to reduce the cluster under my 2.5-inch SSDs, but it is not necessary right now. The build is not complete, but there are still a few accessories to discuss. I prefer to place the PC horizontally like this, but since I have run out of space on my desk, I have to keep it in a vertical position. Leaving it like this is fine, but I feel it could be easily knocked over. If we need the PC to stand vertically, we can attach this base to the case. I used the frosted spray paint to get rid of the mirror finish, and I originally planned to use this on the case. However, it did not stick very well and can easily be scratched. I would leave it like this for now, but we'll come back to vinyl wrap it in the future. To install the base, we first need to remove these 4 screws. They are then be used to mount the base, so you don't have to worry about losing them. It is simple like that, and the case now has extra stability even with the heaviest graphic card. Another accessory is the case handle, which needs to be mounted right here before installing the motherboard. However, I do not like having a handle, so I didn't use it. So with everything is ready, we can boot up the PC. I only updated the motherboard BIOS and enabled the memory expo. I did not overclock or undervolt the CPU. During idle, the CPU temperature was at 65 degrees, but it sometimes spiked above 90 degrees. I ran Cinebench on 23 and immediately the temperature was hitting 95 degrees and stayed there. According to AMD, it was designed to be this way to achieve the maximum performance. However, it was very loud for our little cooler, and I already limited the maximum fan speed to 90%. In as-screed GAV at 1080p using a 4070 GPU, the CPU was around 72 to 75 degrees, which were just 10 degrees more than idle temp. The loudest noise was coming from the graphic card. If you use this case and the temperature of your card is high, it is because your room is hot, not the case's fault. From the KL Metal store page, you can see they have multiple cases to choose. The one we are using is the C34, which is 3.5 liters. The C34D version is much bigger at 4.9 liters, but it can support a 3.5-inch drive and some taller heatsinks like the AXP100, AXP120, or AXP200. One interesting version is the C23, which is similar to the C34 but smaller at 2.5 liters for people who wanting a smaller package. But it uses Flex ATX power supply and you are limited to one 2.5-inch drive. The case was super cheap and the total was around $60, not included shipping, but you need to purchase the accessories separately, like the base, the GPU bracket, or the USB I/O. I did not know that the low profile bracket was not included, so I had to buy it later. This will be my travel PC for the upcoming trips. When visiting my family, I prefer spending time with them, so having a gaming PC is not necessary, and the case gives me the option of having a powerful machine with lots of storage. But if I want to game, placing a GPU box in the suitcase is not a problem either. The only inconvenience is you need to have a screwdriver with you, which might be a problem with airport security, so keep that in mind. My Samsonite backpack has enough space for the PC, the GPU box, and my HG17 portable gaming monitor, but we have no space for a keyboard. It is better to put a GPU box in a secondary luggage, or for a single fan card, maybe try putting it in a smaller padded box. If you are interested in getting this case, I have links to buy it on Taobao via Superbuy in the description. Thank you so much for watching and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.